Hello. I've been really busy recently with work and other things, but this coming Saturday, I have absolutely no plans. So I'm really looking forward to just spending hours reading with a big pot of tea. And I also have a big stack of brand new books that I'm really looking forward to diving into. All of these books, I think, have been published here in the UK in May. Many publishers kindly sent me, and some others I bought myself. So I'm going to go through and discuss why I'm so interested in reading all of these books. I would love to hear if you're also interested in any of them, or if you've acquired any new books recently that you're looking forward to reading. Please let me know about that in the comments below. Now, the very first novel I have to talk about is a highly anticipated one for me. It's the new novel by Sarah Moss called Ripeness, and I've absolutely loved novels by Sarah Moss in the past. Like Ghost Wall and The Fell. And this novel explores family and exile and belonging. And it follows a woman named Edith who, in the 1960s, she's charged by her mother to go to Italy to stay with her sister in the final weeks of her sister's pregnancy. And then many years later, Edith is living in Ireland, and a friend approaches her saying that she has been met with an estranged brother, and this forms a connection with Edith's own past. So it's looking at the dynamics of complicated dynamics of family life in this way, and Sarah Moss's writing is just gorgeous. Next is another novel with a very colorful cover. It's Dream State by Eric Puchner, which has been chosen as an Oprah's Book Club book. And this story follows a woman who is planning to be married. She goes to stay with her in-laws in a beautiful lake in Montana to finalize the plans for their wedding. And her husband-to-be suggests that his best friend should officiate the wedding, which she does not like that idea, and she spends time with the best friend, and then discovers things about her husband-to-be, and starts reconsidering whether this is what she really wants. So I've heard really great things about this, and it sounds like a story with a lot of drama. Sakina's Kiss by Vivek Shanbhag, and this novel follows a middle-class couple in a major city in southern India, and unexpectedly one day, two men arrive at their house asking for their daughter, saying that they have business with her, and they're turned away, but then they come back and are very intimidating, and this causes the couple to reflect on their own past as well as fearing for their daughter's present safety. There's a new debut novel called Lush by Rochelle Dowden-Lord, and this story follows four people who are invited to France to taste the oldest bottle of wine in existence, and they make sacrifices to be able to attend this event, but then the real reasons and reality behind this event are gradually revealed. And so it sounds like quite like a tense story, but also this sounds like a really great summer read. Heartwood by Amity, Gaige, and this novel follows the story of a woman who becomes lost along the Appalachian Trail in the Maine woods, and so it follows her and also an individual who is searching for this lost woman, as well as an elderly bird watcher who discovers clues about this woman's disappearance, and it's about the larger mystery behind her disappearance and the story about it. And of course, I grew up in the state of Maine, so I'm always keen to read stories that are set there. And actually, this is endorsed by the author Sarah Moss, who says, Heartwood is both fast-paced and full of grace, a story of jeopardy and a memorable meditation on the forms of care for each other, for ourselves, for our planet. Another highly anticipated novel for me is the new novel by Madeline Thien, The Book of Records. And I absolutely loved her novel, Do Not Say We Have Nothing. And this story follows a woman named Lena who is forced to leave her hometown with her ailing father. And they take refuge in a location which is a staging post for migration. And there they meet a number of different individuals, some who bear a marked similarity from historical figures from the past. So this is a meditation on transition in life and belonging and looking at the migration crisis in the world today from a very unique vantage point. Thien writes in a way which is so insightful, but also incredibly heartfelt, and I cannot wait to read this. This is How You Remember It by Prasifka, and this is a novel which follows a girl whose entire life has been lived online, and it looks at different moments when images of her or interactions she's had online have been captured and kind of cemented in the web, and how this has formed her life and sense of identity. And so it sounds really interesting how this tries to narratively explore the experience of people who are growing up online. Pig by Matilde Pratesi, and this sounds like a really unique and kind of humorous but also quite dark story that follows a woman who works in a bookshop and who is a very solitary individual, and whenever she gets stressed and overwhelmed, she finds it calming to think about all of the different breeds of pig that there are, but she has a roommate and a friend who is very controlling and doesn't want her to interact with other people. So it's looking at issues to do with toxic friendship in a way which I think is quite humorous, but is also looking at the darker side of friendships. Another new debut novel by a British writer is Absence by Issa Quincy, and this follows the story of a child who is told stories by many different people, and it's about how these stories become internalized and part of the individual's life. So it's a very different way of looking at personality, of how we are formed through the stories we are told by other people. And Issa Quincy was kind of mentored by Ali Smith, who helped read a draft of this novel and helped suggest how it should be formed. So it sounds like a really exciting new voice. Next is a new novel from a writer who is so distinctive and original. I don't think anyone is doing what she's doing. It's the new novel by Helen Oyeyemi called A New Me, and this follows a character named Kinga who has different selves, selves who are labeled kind of Kinga A, Kinga B, Kinga C, and there are 7 different selves for the 7 days of the week, and these 7 different selves have different personalities and techniques and ways of interacting with the world, but then one of these personalities comes to try to dominate the other one. So it's about this internal conflict, and I never really know what I'm going to get with a Helen Oyeyemi novel. I've read a few of her books before, and I find them as disorientating as they are fascinating. I mean, oftentimes I don't really understand what is going on, but she's one of those rare writers that I'm so fascinated by what she is doing in this narrative and exploring it, story and character and voice in such a creative way that I just want to keep reading. Favorite Daughter by Morgan Dick, and this novel follows two estranged siblings, and their father has died recently, and one thought she was the more favored daughter, but the wealth of the father is left entirely to the other daughter, who has a very messy life and a lot of problems, and it's about their tentative reconnection with each other and trying to understand their father's motives and why he did this. So it sounds like a tense drama and a kind of comic tragic story. Next, I have a couple of older books that there are new translations of. So the first is The Image of Her by Simone de Beauvoir, and this has been newly translated by Lauren Elkin. And this is a novel about a woman who wants to have a picture-perfect life and believes that's what she does have. She has a very successful career and a husband and two children, but then one of her daughters starts questioning whether she is really completely fulfilled, and this starts showing the kind of the cracks in the facade of her picture perfect life. And Simone de Beauvoir, I've always wanted to read more of her fiction because she was such a fascinating intellectual and thinker and philosopher. I found myself The Last Dreams by Naguib Mahfouz, who's the very first Arab winner of the Nobel Prize for Literature, and this is a translation by the great writer Hisham Matar, and it includes an introduction by him. And this book is kind of a memoir slash series of vignettes where the author is reflecting upon Egypt's past and present, and also the city of Cairo and his movements through the city. So I can't think of anyone better than Hisham Matar for recording this kind of experience where a physical location and city intersects with political life, because Hisham Matar's novel My Friends was one of my favorite books that I read last year. And this also includes photographs by Diana Matar of scenes of Cairo. Speaking of Nobel Prize winners, I have a new picture book for adults by Nobel Prize winner Olga Tokarczuk called Mr. Distinctive, and this comes with illustrations by Joanna Consejo, and this is a story about a man who wants to become famous online and is posting photos of himself online and kind of thriving off from the positive responses to that. But he gradually finds, as he takes more and more pictures of himself to post on social media, that his features are blurring and his face is becoming completely indistinct, and so it creates this kind of crisis within him. So Tokarczuk is kind of exploring modern life and social media in this way. And yes, this comes with a lot of illustrations, but then also sections of the novel kind of fold out. I also have a new graphic memoir called Ginseng Roots by Craig Thompson, and this story follows Craig and his siblings when they were younger and would spend summers in rural Wisconsin working on an American ginseng farm, weeding and harvesting the crop, and it explores their connection with each other and creativity, but also their family history migrating from China to America, and it does so through a lot of really vibrant illustrations. Now, a couple of weeks ago was the 100th anniversary of the publication of the landmark novel Mrs. Dalloway, and of course Virginia Woolf is one of my favorite writers of all time, and I do want to reread Mrs. Dalloway at some point, but I also want to read it alongside this new book, which is Mrs. Dalloway, a biography of the novel, and in this the author Mark Hussey explores the creation of this novel from its inception and Virginia Woolf's initial notes for it, and how she wrote a short short story, which then eventually evolved and then became the novel itself, and looks at the history of its publication and reception and its historical importance since then. So I think this will be so fascinating to read alongside the fiction itself. And speaking of Virginia Woolf, the author Francesca Wade wrote a fantastic nonfiction book called Square Haunting, which was about a number of female authors, including Virginia Woolf. But Francesca Wade has written a new biography of Gertrude Stein, who is an author that I've always been fascinated, but also quite intimidated by, because her prose is so out there and distinctive, and so this is exploring the author's life as well as her legacy, and the craft of her prose, and so I think this might be a good way of kind of working into the work of Gertrude Stein, of kind of understanding her life and the motivations, but behind the way that she wrote. And so I'd like to read this and then start exploring some of Stein's own prose. There's also Rebecca Solnit's new collection of essays called No Straight Road Takes You There, and these are meditations on a whole range of modern subjects, from issues to do with the climate crisis and the environment to women's rights and masculinity and the rise of the far right. And she is such an insightful and distinctive thinker and intellectual. Poor Ghost by Gabriel Flynn, and this is a novel following a young man who drops out of his PhD program in studying literature to move back to the city of Manchester, where he originated from, and there he becomes a ghostwriter, working with someone with MS who wants to tell their own story, and the protagonist's own family member was suffering from MS. So it's about how his own personal story and connection with this affliction sort of melds with the person whose story he is trying to ghostwrite. Next is a new novel, Checking Out, which follows a woman in her mid-20s named Miriam, who lives on the Canary Islands and starts working at a supermarket where she gradually works up the chain of command until she has a stronger position of power, and but how this journey leads her to sort of compromise things about herself. And I always really find it fascinating reading fiction of people that are working in kind of chains, especially like supermarkets and fast food outlets, and following that experience, which where people are made to feel like they are just kind of like one link within a larger chain and machine that is functioning within the company, and the struggle to maintain your own individuality within that. And finally, I have another novel which sounds really perfect for summer, which is Sunstruck by William Rayfett Hunter. And this novel follows a young man who travels to France to meet a number of siblings who live a very privileged life in a large mansion, and how he wants to become part of their life, but also the dangers and risks that come along with that. It sounds kind of like an Alan Hollinghurst type story. So yeah, I really looking forward to reading this over the summer at some point, as well as all of these other books, which I want to and hope to dive into soon. But like I said, I'd love to know if you're also interested in reading any of these books, or if you have read any of them. Let me know what you think of them, and if you think I should prioritize one over another, or if you have received any new books recently that you are looking forward to reading. I would love to hear about that. But I hope you're doing well, and find some time to read some good things, and I will speak to you again soon. Bye-bye.